Hello everyone, today we're going to draw this pumpkin, and the first step I want to show you how you can easily understand the shape of your object. So I'll show this in black and white. The first thing to do is mix the shades you will use from dark to light. Make about 6, maybe 7 shades from light to dark and using just two colors, black and white. Here you can see the shades I'll mixed. I made 7 shades and starting with the lightest one, I look at the reference and put my first light shade where I see it on all the parts of the pumpkin I'm painting. After this step, I start using the second shade, which is a bit darker. I put it next to the light shade, creating a smooth transition from light to dark. After the second layer, I add the third layer and so on. The third layer is darker, helping to shape the object, adding depth and giving each part of the pumpkin a clear, correct form. Then I add a shadow from the pumpkin itself and also use the darkest color between each section inside the pumpkin. After setting up the tones of the whole object, I work with mid-tones, adding shadows and light in area where I missed some details. Once you have applied the basic light to dark tones, you can start adding more specific shadows and highlights. Next, using the second or third shade, I place it on the areas to outline the pumpkin's shape more clearly and completely fill in the background. Like this. So I use all my tones, maybe third, maybe fourth. Now I'm going to use an old small canvas for my painting, and the first thing I do is mix a brown purple shade to sketch the pumpkin on the canvas. I add into section inside the pumpkin and make it a bit larger after the first sketch. Next, I mix dark green with brown and add shadows between each section inside the pumpkin, starting from dark to light. Then I mix an orange yellow with brown and add it the next dark areas to create a transition from dark to light. Next, I'll work with a lighter shade, adding more yellow to the middle of each part of the pumpkin since it's lighter there. This helps me see the pumpkin shade more, and after that I add a green shade with warm brown to the pumpkin stem and add its shadows. After that, I start working on each part of the pumpkin separately. This makes it easier for me to work with complex shapes and I add more light to each section of the pumpkin, going over each shape individuality, because they are all different and sometimes it's hard to see certain parts. Don't forget about reflection from the table surface and how each part reflects into one another. At this stage, it's important to look carefully at all the midtones in each section individuality. And if you work on each part separately and don't fully finish it right way, you can create a base layer that will make it easier to keep working on later. This can be your first layer to help you paint a more realistic pumpkin in the end, if you want, of course. Next, I keep adding more midtones and to each part of my pumpkin using the same shades as before, nothing new. I'm still using all the same colors I used earlier. Since I'm using very little thinner, my paints stick well to the canvas and all the shades blend nicely together. Now I'm also adding a warm gray shade to my background, and I'm using the same gray as before, but this time I added some warm orange and yellow tones to help it match the pumpkins better. And then you're working with a certain color them. You should keep that same color in both to background and object itself. And this will help create a more harmonious composition and making the painting look better. Then I add some light blue shades, making parts of the background a bit lighter. Since the background can have both lighter and darker areas depending on the reference you're using. When choosing a reference, you can focus on the light and shadows that you like best. The object and image we enjoy, they must usually turn out better than those we are less interested in. I hope I explained this clearly. Now I'm just working on the background, and then I add even lighter areas to each part, and which gives it more volume, something is needed to look more complete. And after that, I just create a little more details and tones and form for my pumpkin. add a little more shapes and light. I use titanium white and zinc white for so light areas, because only that way help me keep my light area how I want. And also for teeny details, I use my teeny brush. So now you can see how I add more color, more yellow and orange, but my pumpkins not looks like realistic because I don't have more light. So now I just add more lights. I use white with yellow and just add it carefully because I want to stay dark shadows too. So this way you can use your old canvases to create new project, new pictures. I'm talking about what I told you for first when I just only start my video. So now I take a little more light for my background and each part, so it's the same things, but every time I take a little more white. If you want create realistic pumpkin or some other object, you can have a lot of time and a lot of passion for this, and also a lot of experience. I feel like my light all the time just vanish. I don't know how it happened, but it's happened. So that's why I add more white every time. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you create something for Halloween. Thank you. Bye bye.